up, everybody? Welcome back to the Underdogs Podcast. Moving on to episode number 15 now. My name is Jordan Daly. With me, as always, we got NBA vets Craig Smith, Mike Taylor. Say what's up, guys.
What up?
Going on, world?
Craig, I'm going to pass it to you to introduce the guest of the week.
Yes, this is a special guest. He goes by the name of Thomas Scott. Right now, he is at the top of the Big 3 operations and personnel. Not only that, he is from Los Angeles, California. And not only that, he sees the top of the G League as the night elite. He's like the GM. Want to give it up for LA's own Thomas Scott. Please welcome to the Underdogs Podcast.
Yo, what an intro, Craig. Mike. Man, happy to be here. Man, I didn't really think about it like that until you broke it down like that, Craig. But yeah, man, I just want to support what you guys are doing, you know, and help you guys take this to the next level, man. You guys know I'm already a big fan of you guys as individuals and as ball players, you know. So, you know, thank you for having me on.
Man, a pleasure. Pleasure is ours, bro. So we're gonna hop right into it, man. Let's talk about your upbringing. You know what I'm saying? How your household, your siblings growing up in LA. Walk us through that time right there, just how you was raised and everything like that.
Man, you know, during that time, I'm born in 82, so 80s were popping, you know, in LA in a lot of different ways, you know what I mean? But the main thing that was, you know, my family was basketball and you know, love and all of that and a lot of sacrifice, you know, that came with, you know, my dad and his commitment to playing pro ball and, you know, being from the city and then they're playing for championships. So it's a whole nother mindset of focus. He wasn't, you know, on a losing team, you know, so, you know, it was attention to detail every day and you know, every day's, you know, you couldn't call my house. You had the phone off the hook because it's game day, or we might be eating the same type of dinner because that's the food that one night he might have had a great game or gives him the best energy. So I remember we had pork chops all the time at one time, you know, and potatoes and stuff like that. But you know, it was just a lot of basketball, man. I was just very fortunate to be raised in that time and then to be in LA for as long as we were. As you guys know, after a couple of years, you kind of bounce around to different teams. So I was able to get a good foundation within the neighborhood I grew up in, my family, my friends, and, you know, really got a sense of being from LA. You know, as we got older, we moved around a little bit. But it's funny, those times of being a kid, man, like guys like Pooh Jeter, you know, I remember just growing up and traveling teams, you know, Trevor Ariza, all those different dudes, you know, and then dudes blow up and, you know, playing the league, you know what I'm saying? And it's been dope to see, you know, the evolution of basketball from the city and being around here and being in the gyms, getting a lot of love in the gyms. And yeah, man, just coming up, it was just a lot about school, basketball, and love. You know, like I love to play ball. I love to be around it. I love to be around the locker rooms. But as much as I wanted to play, Pops would not let me play if my grades were terrible. So, you know, he kept, you know, school first and God first and stuff like that. But sometimes it doesn't even seem real now that I look back as an adult to be able to kind of, I'll give you guys a funny story. So growing up, I used to always go to the Laker locker room, you know, Magic and Kareem and James. That was like family members to me. So you see your family members all the time. It's no big deal. You know what I mean? And so one time so the trainer, Gary Vitti, who's been around forever, he had a basketball hoop like over his desk. Like, and I used to go back there and like to play. You know, I'm a little kid. I was shooting, messing around. I'm all in his way or whatever. So I have some of my friends come to a game and we go into the locker room, right? I'm like, yeah, man, let's go to the back. Let's go to the back. And I run to the office where Gary Vidi's stuff is to hoop, thinking they wanted to play. And they're like stuck in awe because they never seen Magic Johnson up close or James. And, you know, like, and to me, like at the time, they were like family, you know, and then my dad had to like, hey, Thomas, like you have to introduce them. Like they don't know, you know, these guys. So I just kind of grew up in the space, and I was very thankful to be able to ask questions. You know, I asked a lot of questions. I wasn't a shy kid, you know. Funny just being involved in player development. I just kind of took a lot of the questions I asked when I was a kid and remembered a lot of the things I try to apply to myself as a player, but then to other young players or current players, you know, being able to ask Magic or Jason Williams, like, what do you do to practice passing? You know, and they just tell me. Or like Reggie Miller, you know, I'm 13. My pops was playing for the Pacers, and I was playing AAU ball, and I was in a slump, couldn't make a shot. So I was able to ask Reggie, like, hey, man, like, how do I get out of slump? And he told me what I should do. Really, what you vets do all the time is work on your shot from close range and get your form shooting in and back up and just see the ball going through the net. So, like, you know, that type of access, man, honestly, like when you look at Steph Curry right now, right? The way he's playing, like Klay Thompson, the way they play together, like they've been exposed to so many things early to know and feel like what it takes to be a pro, asked a lot of questions, saw a lot of workouts. Like I look at them and I'm like, yo, like they embodied everything like I had or you know, was able to experience. And I just feel like it took them to a whole nother level, you know, like, you know, they probably had access to the training facilities, like just like their dad did. You know what I'm saying? They're going as much as dad is going, and they getting shots up on the gun before we even were able to know what a shooting gun was, you know, stuff like that.
That's true.
You know, so but then that mindset of just seeing, you know, different guys like the stars, how they carry themselves, how they prepare themselves, and the role players and the guys that aren't there next year that are here this year, or the guys that continue to stay on the team. Okay, these are the guys that they're doing something right here. Like, what are they doing? Like, and you get a chance to maybe go to a practice on a Saturday and see how they actually prepare, you know? So I know I'm kind of rambling on this, but it brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, and since you explained kind of growing up with the NBA dad, kind of elaborate like a little bit more on like how did it change you or prepare you for your adult lifehood or just for life in general? Like how did that experience like change things for you in your thought process going forward?
Yeah, you know, I got to give my dad a lot of credit, you know, because, I mean, Craig, you play for the Clippers, you're from the town, right? There's a lot of challenges, different things that come with just being in the city, right? And then coming from Inglewood, California, where the Lakers were playing their games, like he's literally like blocks away growing up. And, you know, having the focus of really wanting to play for the Lakers and really made a decision early to create, you know, proper habits to become a pro. And then as I was, you know, born and growing up, he had a lot of routine habits that were great, you know, like he literally worked out like 2-3 times a day, you know, got his cardio, got his lifting in, like didn't miss a day, you know, up early, punctual, you know. I would want to go to practice with him. He's like, hey, I'm going to leave here at 7:30 a.m., not 7:31, not 7:32. I come down 7:30, he's gone. You know what I'm saying? I see the car leave. I'm like, Dad, I'm here. He leaves. You know, as you guys know, working in the pros, if you late for the bus, if you on time for the bus, you late and they going to leave you and you're going to get fined. So like little stuff like that, just understand, okay, if Dad says 7:30, I need to be downstairs in the car at least 5-10 minutes earlier. You know what I'm saying? And so like learning that, and then it reoccurs as an adult, you know, just the focus, attention to detail, how he was able to, write his goals down and put them in a place we could see him every day. So, I do the same thing, you know what I mean? So that it was like a major advantage. And then, just even if he wasn't a ball player, just to see, the professionalism somebody would take in their craft, and then no matter what I decided to do with my life, those fundamental things, are going to be
transferable.
Yeah, they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Mike, I know you always going to get your work in. You know what I'm saying? You got kids. You going to, because the guy you may go against may be even going harder. So your kids are seeing a constant, daddy's going to go to the gym. Daddy doesn't eat all these sweets. Daddy drinks a lot of water. Daddy, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Daddy's stretching. Daddy's icing. I got to see all of that stuff. Every night my dad would ice. He would get a deep tissue massage sometimes coming over. In the off season, he didn't really touch a ball for a while, right? Now we're just talking basketball stuff. Like he would be at UCLA on the track, running, like doing like sprints and just nonstop running. And so like a funny thing was like Eldon Campbell, right? From Inglewood, played for the Lakers. He tried to, work out with my dad in the off season. He quit like after a week. Then you got guys like Reggie Miller, right? He's at UCLA. My dad's working out in the summers at UCLA, so he's seeing him, you know what I mean? And he's a Southern California guy as well. He started working out with my dad on the summer on the running the stairs and just more so sprints and stuff like that. And you look at his career, right? Like how he was able to move and sustain, and he's still in great shape. And, there was a different level of conditioning, that my dad took. And I got to see all of that, you know what I mean? And I run into a lot of young pros and, I do a lot of training and different things like that. And I'm like, okay, this is what you have to do. Just like if you guys were to work with anybody, like there's a good saying, it takes what it takes. Like if you're not willing to do it, then okay, you don't want to be a pro. Somebody else gonna take your dream. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, I think, just having that and seeing that consistent hard work was probably one of the best gifts that I was able to receive.
Nah, like you saying, like you had that blueprint. You know what I'm saying? You had that model that you could see. And that's just like that's half of the battle. You know what I'm saying? So no, that's definitely like just you going deeper into that aspect into your life. I can see how that discipline just trickles right down because you're able to, you know what I'm saying, see the benefits of it. You see it is working. So it's like, man, if it ain't broke, then why do I need to fix it? I know what I'm gonna get out what I put in. You know what I'm saying? That's half of the battle.
And it's like when you know what's at stake, right? Like, when you guys were on your journey to make it in the league, and you make it in the league, right? You have goals, right? Like, for your family, your mom, maybe buying her house or different things, stuff like that. Like, that you like, man, I got to stay on this, right? And so, like, given what I do with the Big3 or training somebody, coaching, whatever it may be, I know there's a lot at stake, right? For myself, for the league that's dependent on me to follow through with this, that, or the other, a player that's trying to be involved in the league or anything that, like, you guys know may need. Like, I know what's at stake here. So being able to see my dad have that consistent work ethic and then take days off and things like that, like, I would not be able to do any of the things that I'm able to do right now or even be recognized for what I have done if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, and that's like a big thing because it's like your whys. And we got a great friend in common by the name of Anthony Davis. You know, he explains that when he's teaching his kids, what is your why? What is your purpose for going out here? And the better you can acknowledge it at an earlier age, the better are you off with serving your purpose at an earlier age. And what's
That's
cool
true.
is And what's cool is that you brought up the fact about Reggie Miller working out with your dad, which at the end of the day, they ended up becoming teammates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that just goes to show, like, you know, just the power of connection, but the power of, like, low-key introducing somebody to, like, look, you want to make sure you want to be in the top tip-top shape. Like, this is how it can be. And then not only that, like, your pops is a champion. So it's just like, why you not going to take this information? This is where you want to be.
Right. And so, like, you know, obviously I fell short as a player, you know what I'm saying? But I love the game and trying to find my lane and my why. And then one day it kind of hit me, right? Like I talked to you guys earlier about being able to talk to this guy, Reggie Miller, about a slump, or Jason Williams about ball handling drills or different things that he would do.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to AC Green about rebounding, you know, all these different things, right? Like,
yeah,
it made me realize, like, oh, I have to pass this information on. And you know what I'm saying? That is the purpose. I'm the vessel to transfer knowledge. You know, but along the way, as you're helping people, it seems somehow you end up helping yourself, you know. And so I was just blessed with that access, and then just to study, you know, and then working in the league and working my way up in the league. Like, my pops put me at the bottom position, you know, in the video room as an assistant. I had to work my way up for 4 years, and I don't know, man. All that stuff, man. It just all goes together, man.
So you get your solid foundation from your dad, and you're going through your childhood. Then you come to the point where it's time to play college basketball. Can you walk us through the point of, you know, what went through your head to, like, choose the school? Like, what was that decision-making process, and what was your college basketball experience like in total?
Well, you know, for me, it was cool. You know, I wasn't highly recruited, you know, as I thought I should be, you know, or should have been or could have been. I do feel at the time I felt like a little underutilized in high school, but I scrapped, and so I still was able to receive a scholarship from an NAIA school called Xavier, Louisiana, in New Orleans. Small school, HBCU. For, you know, it's all HBCUs are, like, you know, super cool. Like, I love HBCU. I love my time there, you know. But at the time, I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. I had some options, small schools, couple D1 schools, but I didn't really like what they were talking about, the timetable for me to actually play. And so my dad, he kind of just told me, he said, do you want to be a small fish in a big pond or a big fish in a small pond? And that registered for me and made sense. And I was like, well, that's a big fish in a small pond. So that led to my decision to go to Xavier. And it was cool. It was an adjustment because of the first year of my life where I couldn't play basketball because I had the red shirt academically. And I hated it, you know, because I was around all this basketball. I could practice, I could, you know, work out, but then when it got to the nitty gritty, I had to be on the side. And I'm about that action. I want to be in action, man. I want to play. And so they made some coaching changes, and then I ended up transferring. I ended up going to JUCO. I went to Pasadena City out here in California. And from there, you know, I kind of worked my way up to be first team all league, you know, played some tough games, man. And, you know, a lot of people don't know about the junior college scene out here on the West Coast. It's pretty serious. As you saw, you know, Last Chance U, they had East LA. You know, we were like one of those type of teams, a bunch of guys with a lot of talent, maybe, you know, made some mistakes or some grade issues or different things like that. And, you know, we all ended up going to different schools and different things. But at the time, as well as I was doing, for some reason, I had lost the passion of the game, you know, and it frustrated me, you know, and then I took a year. I started to get into like audio engineering and some other stuff, music wise and stuff like that. But then I missed the game so much. And so from that point, I asked my dad, like, if there's any way I can work my way in, I would love to, you know, work because I missed the game if something opens up. And something opened up and I got a chance to interview and they allowed me to do it. And then I realized that, you know, opportunity I had in the video room doesn't come easy, you know, for a lot of people. So I wanted to make sure that I did a great job. And so like I missed playing past my sophomore year of college. Ended up getting, you know, my credits later on, but I was taking a journey nobody that I knew was taking. You know, and I didn't really know where it was going to go at the time. I didn't really know what I wanted to do really with my life other than work this job. But like, if you remember Craig, I ran into Craig when he was a rookie in Minnesota, and I'm like a rookie in the video room in Oklahoma City Hornets. And, you know, two different guys in a different, you know, lane, in a position I didn't even know existed in the NBA, you know, in the video room. And then as I was working, I saw, you know, Spoelstra they credit him coming from the video room, Mike Brown coming from the video room. And then I realized like, oh, okay, this is the places where coaches get a chance, future coaches can learn the game and how things go and see personnel from college and how other coaches do their thing. And then Kenny Gaddison was like a head assistant. He sat me down and said, you have to figure out who you're going to be in 5 years, whether it's in this business or not. But if it's in this business, you have to figure out where you can make the best impact. And so from that point, I remember I was rebounding and helping guys, you know, doing some drill work and some skill work. And I said, oh, this is where I want to be right here. This is perfect for me. And so going back to, you know, the thought of, you know, all the information I'm getting and I want to pass it on and I can be on the court. This is perfect. And then from there, I just kind of, you know, chipped away, man. Try to do well in one job so that when the next job comes, if there, you know, if somehow you have to get another one, they can reference back to see if you did a good job, you know. And in the business of basketball, it happens, you know, and you know, it's the game we love, and so we do whatever we can to still be a part of it, you know.
Yeah. And that's cool because I feel like Pat Riley started kind of doing video too when he was starting out figuring out with the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? I didn't
know that. That was crazy. Yeah, I saw that.
So
I saw that. Yeah. So
you watch a lot of film. You watch a ton of film. So you see a lot of basketball. And not only that, then you get to see players' tendencies, habits, the flow of the offense, defense, the flow of the game, the situation, the tempo. So, I mean, there's real knowledge behind that you're kind of like, after having so much crammed in your brain, you're almost like a Morpheus in a sense, because you've watched so much film and it's like, oh, I know this situation right here, or this situation. Oh, that's familiar. That's the tape 85 I watched back in 08, you know?
No, yeah, I mean, that's true. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And then what happens is you start drawing your own conclusions. You start critically thinking of why they do this. How do they do this? How would I stop this guy? Why do they play with this system? You know, I learned like these coaches are brilliant. They don't get enough credit, even if they don't have the best records. You know what I'm saying? There may be other elements of why they're not winning, but like they are brilliant minds in how they try to figure out how to make 5 people play together on the floor, and then managing the overall temperament of the team. And so, like, you know, you're able to watch and pick things up, and then you start to key in on certain people and certain things, and you I don't know, man, you start picking up, ooh, I want to see that again. Oh, I want to try that move. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or, ooh, I like that play. I like that defensive scheme. You know, and if I get a chance to implement my thing, that's going to be in it. Like, you know what I mean? So that's going in my playbook. Those type of things, you know, you get to kind of put together your own style.
Yeah.
You've been around a lot of great basketball minds, not just coming from like the coaches aspect, but also some of the players. Like when you was, I know when your pops was coaching for the Hornets, that was when CP3 and David West and everything, and that's when that culture started to develop down there. And you was in the film room around those times, you pulling all of those clips and all of that stuff together. Like, okay, this is what's working. You know what I'm saying, right?
Bro, you know what's crazy, Mike? That's great. That's great you brought that up, man, because I was tripping out because my job is to watch this team 24/7, right? And we didn't have any national televised games like that. You ain't know how good Chris Paul was going to be, right? And so, I mean,
did, because I used to watch Chris Paul when I was in junior college. I used to watch him at Wake Forest. I used to watch his. He's the first person like I watched a full like college game, like really was watching it. It was Chris Paul.
He was cold.
Yeah. So I followed him when he was in the league. And I remember when I was going through the draft, I remember you being there with the Hornets. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to kind of talk about that, you know what I'm saying? That mind frame of like CP and just, you know what I'm saying? I know you was around Kobe and the player development around there and the Lakers and stuff like that.
All that.
And that's just like basketball greats minds. But then the coaching and seeing it trickle all the way down into them executing it on the floor, like kind of like just go into that. Into that.
So you know, I talked about I like to ask a lot of questions, and I still was like that. But the cool thing about Chris Paul was he just would share, you know, and you just needed to be listening, right? Like he would talk about how he manipulate the pick and roll and why he's doing it, what he's looking at. And I'm like, oh snap, this dude is really like dropping all the jewels. And so like I would see, like I could see it coming, right? I could just see it coming. I was like, oh, okay, this dude, he's kind of like Isaiah Thomas. Like he's kind of got like a little Isaiah Thomas and John Stockton to him. He's kind of like you can't stay in front of him. He always just finds the right guy, right? And so at that point, he was in his young dog mode, right? Like where they don't have regard for their energy and you know, like, man, I'm trying to hoop. Like if you look at Michael Jordan, all those dudes, they just going. You know what I'm saying? So he was just going. I mean, he was smart, high IQ, his assist to turnover ratio. I never seen anything like that at that time. But I was just tripping out that he was so nice and we had no games nationally televised. So I'm just calling homies, hitting people up like, yo, this dude, Chris Paul, is on another level. And like, oh, Chris Paul, I seen him a little bit away. I was like, no, if you got league pass, watch this dude. You know what I'm saying? And he made everybody better. And what I loved about David West, you know, he was old school, man. Like he was cut from that Karl Malone cloth, right? Like mid-range shots, elbow picking pops. He never missed them, rebounding. And he worked his way up to being an all-star. So like, it was just cool to see, like, just being around pops. Tyson Chandler coming through, like how he was telling me, like, we get Tyson Chandler and Rasul Butler and Gennaro Pargo, wherever, will be a really good team. And he just like that. Pop said it just like that. And it was exactly what he said. They got Tyson at that time. They didn't really know what he was, right? He wasn't the most physical. He was light. But what he was, Chris Paul brought it. It was just he maximized what nobody saw.
Yeah.
Pop, same thing. Like, he was a rim roller, high motor, shot blocker that wants to run.
Yeah.
And if you look at my Pop's DNA from 80s Lakers basketball, they want to run. I told you that's how he, did his thing. So his practices were really hard because he had to go through that with Pat Riley, but he knew the benefit of when you are in better shape than your opponent and you keep running, they can't keep up. So, you got Rasul, you got Chris, you had David, you had Tyson, and then the way they ran that double drag, pick and roll, there's nothing you could do about it, literally. And then Peja on the other side and Rasul on the other side, dudes that can knock shots down. So it was starting to look like a band that just played great music. You know what I mean? And Chris Paul was like the lead singer. And it was awesome, man. I knew he was going to be, like, after that first year, I was like, yo, this dude's going to be the best point guard in the NBA. Like, if he's not right now, he's about to be real soon. And, it was just cool to see that. And then looking back at that time and seeing, everybody to where they are now, it's just amazing. And I just be thankful that I'm able to see how that stuff come together. Yeah, man, you see it. How it came together, like, that's a beautiful thing, man. And I was just fortunate to have, like, the best, almost like a reality TV vibe of, like,
that's what it was.
Seeing great players and teams and camaraderie and how they came together to win games. It was awesome.
All right. So, talking about the mental mindset a little bit, how tough was it just making that decision from basketball, being the player, to actually going into the transition, of coaching and training and taking, like, a step down? Because, that's a humbling experience in itself. You know what I'm saying? To just be like, okay, it's not there no more for me, but this is still what I love to do. Can you just talk about that? That mindset and that transition? That's a hard transition.
It's, it was not easy, because I was still young, I'm like, I might have been 24, 23, 20, somewhere like that, so I was still young. And just like a young man, still, I was finding myself, and trying to figure out, I stepped away from ball. Like, I'm still, athletic enough to still play if I wanted to continue to go, but I felt like I was also behind. And it was going to be an uphill battle for me to really stick with a team or get back in that regard. But yeah, I had to figure some things out. And I by the blessings of God, and my pops, he was able to bring me around that setting again and make a decision for myself of what I want to do in my life. And so, like, it's not easy to kind of, like, go from the habit of what we're used to, of our routines of training and playing, but you take a lot of the elements of what it takes to be an athlete into whatever else you're trying to do in life, right? You still gotta have discipline. We get up early, we gotta work, right? Like, you ain't nothing worse than a lazy hooper. You're gonna get busted at some point. I think that's all of our fears. If we take a day off, or you know what I mean, somebody gonna come in and embarrass me in front of my folks. Right. So, like, I didn't want to embarrass myself or my folks who stuck their neck out to get me an opportunity. So it definitely took a year to figure out that my job was, it wasn't just a job. It was for me to figure out what I want to do within basketball. you know, if I really wanted to be a part of basketball. And luckily I saw a lot of different roles to decide, you know, where I felt like I fit in best.
Man, I think that's huge. Just for like the younger followers and listeners and viewers. Just touching in that space to like, you don't always have to be the basketball player, but
Right.
the family within the basketball is always room around it. And I don't think that a lot of the kids growing up, we just so attracted with being a basketball player. We don't look at the coordination of the videos, and we don't look at some of these experiences as to being ways in, being around. Like you're gonna be treated just like the player.
You don't even know they exist.
Correct.
You don't even know these roles exist. So like,
Facts.
you know, I would hope somehow, maybe this is something that we should all do. I don't know. But there needs to be some type of exposure of positions in professional sports, what they are, just as not as important as a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, but we all know those are positions. There's a career paths, right?
Facts.
Like there's other career paths within the game that we just don't know about.
Correct.
And it's not just general public, you know, or just like, you know, inner city. You know, we don't know. I didn't know what the operations was until I started doing it. I didn't know what a video coordinator was until I started doing it. Like, you know, I didn't know, you know, you have, you know, your PR people, you know, your strength and conditioning coaches, and, you know, like these are other roles that you can stay in for a long time, you know.
That's what I was just finna say. And them the head of the physio and all of that stuff, them guys rarely get replaced. They be in those positions for 20, 30 some odd years. The player personnel ladies and people that work behind the scenes and all that stuff, they be there for 30 years.
Player personnel, like that's another one. Player personnel, like, you know, scouting, GM, assistant GM, you know, equipment managers. These are jobs, you know, that people have held for a long time. And, you know, maybe it's not at the professional level right away, but you start high school, you got colleges. There's ways to get into these type of roles, right? Like I remember, you know, now I think about it, like, remember you'd be in high school, you'd have somebody that keep your score, or they travel with you, you know, on the road and different things like that. Those are the operations people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't know that, but like now, like if you're a high school coach or whatever, you can let them know, like, hey, if there's a career path, if you want to continue to do stuff working and helping teams, you know, you can stick with this and turn this into that. But we don't know, you know what I'm saying? Correct. And I feel like the awareness should be up more in terms of there are a lot of positions. I don't know if it's something the NBA needs to do or whatever, but like somehow we need to expose what kind of career paths, you know, people can take within sports.
No, that's why I was asking you that right there. You know what I'm saying? Because just hearing, you know what I'm saying, the steps that it took for you to go through to even be in the position that you are in today, with being ahead of these operations, right? So it's like being able to expose these kids to something different within the game. Like you will still be able to have the same passion and the same enthusiasm, you know what I'm saying? Be on that same level with the sport. You know what I'm saying? But just being exposed to these different areas to where you can be successful. You got your pensions, you got everything to set your family up. Like, but these are avenues that we're not thinking about. So
exactly.
I mean, that's perfect, bro. Like that's perfect. And maybe it is something that we must do on our own to start bringing that awareness to the youth.
Yeah, and maybe that's something like I need to take a note of just personally, because it seems like, you know, I'm somebody that they can identify with in terms of, yeah, these
You've
are
been
other
there.
jobs that I've worked. Yeah,
You've
like
been there.
that are
You've done
there.
it.
You know,
You've done
so
it.
it's like, you know, you got to understand that there are other things that you can do within this. And there has never, I don't think there's been a person that has kind of like stepped to the forefront and be like, hey, guys, like to the youth, here's some other opportunities within basketball if you really love basketball. But, you know, if it doesn't work as a player, that you can still do, or even after your playing days, that you can still do. So, or prepare for while you're playing. And yeah, maybe that's the thing. You know, you kind of got my gears grinding a little bit.
I'm gonna keep you on that. I'm gonna keep you on that because I like that. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of where my mind was at. That's why I kind of started to gear toward that. But let's hop back into it. Where we at, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, you know, taking those next steps and looking at different career options. In 2010, you made your next step going from a, you know, a guy in the video room, and then you go to a full-on player development coach for the Cavs. How'd that transition become a part for you, and, you know, what was that like?
It was cool, but you know, we lost. We were like, we had the longest losing streak, you know, and it was tough because, you know, I finally get an opportunity to be a part of player development, and our staff was great. You know, Jamal Mosley was head coach of Orlando, Chris Gent head assistant with the Hawks, and Joe Prunty had some time as a head coach, and Nate Tibbetts. There's a bunch of guys that are great coaches, and we put in a lot of work, but we were just falling short on the wins. But the Cleveland Cavalier organization, man, they're top notch. They took care of us tremendously and allowed us to have every resource we needed, and we took advantage of it. And you know, it was fun to actually just get on the court with guys more, and to get them ready, prepare them properly. And then also watching a lot of film, and it was making a step towards learning how to be an assistant coach, and that's where I was trying to go. I think that's when I realized maybe, you know, assistant coach is my thing until I can figure out when I'm ready to be a head coach or something like that. And from there, it was, like I said, challenging, but I got to learn about the G League a little bit, D League at the time. And, you know, I had Christian Ainga, and I would I would kind of like oversee him in the D League, and then, you know, work with him, and then come back to the Cavs. And then the next year they ended up having their own G League team, and I was like the first employee they hired. And they told me, and this is how this kind of ties into the Big Three, really. It's like, what do you think your role would be here with, you know, with the Charge? And I was like, well, you know, a lot of stuff I do here, player development, getting guys ready, helping with practice plans, you know, putting together the team edits, personnel edits, player edits, things like that. And it was like, well, that's like 20% of your job. I was like, really? And they're like, well, we're going to, I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, we're going to need somebody to be in charge of travel, you know, per diem. Guys are going to need rides to and from practice and games. You know, we're going to need you to be the video coordinator, and as well as, you know, coach and trainer is the normal duties you would do. And I was like, I'm taking IDs at the airport. I'm getting tickets. Like, I'm doing fines, I'm giving per diem. And I'm thinking like, man, what is all this for? Like, I mean, if I'm doing all this, I can run a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know now I know how to run a team. Great. But, you know, I thought I was just going to be coaching. You know, fast forward, I could run a team. And then, you know, my career takes the turns it takes. And then I work with the Big Three, and Cube was more interested in the skills that I had in the G League, doing all the other logistical stuff. And so, you know, I was thinking maybe small-minded at the time, thinking a team. And then basically I was kind of handed not the keys, but I had to overlook the whole league, you know, and make sure, you know, everybody had that stuff on a grander scale. So those skills, man, I thought it was just for the job. I didn't think they were going to come right back. and save my life, my family's life. You know what I'm saying? And it did. So, there's no job that's like too small or, think it's just a dead end. You got to figure out ways on how those skills can translate to the next thing,
Let's go into you being on the coaching staff with Kobe. Tell us something about that incredible mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not going too long into it, but we know the mentality of Kobe. Can you just tell us something basketball related that you was able to take and transition that into something that you do every day? And then just something you were able to take from him just as a person, you know what I'm saying, that you was able to incorporate into your life every day?
It's nothing, that a lot of people don't know as far as the Mamba mentality, right? And what that stands for. I have it up in my house, it's to be the best version of oneself, you know what I'm saying? And pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself, so that right there to me sums it up. And I think Kobe was just so brilliant into instilling his mindset and who he is as a person and as a brand that gave to so many, right? Like that Mamba mentality is going to live on forever. I would say that as far as like, just personally, man, you felt like you were around greatness, man. And how he carried himself, he was real, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't hold back. If something he wanted to say or somebody wasn't doing what they was doing, he didn't hold back. But his goal was never different. He wanted to win he wanted to win championships, you know what I'm saying? So he pushed guys, pushed himself though. And so like to just see his work ethic, a lot of guys like to work out to music. He didn't want no music on. He was literally locked into the essence of the workout. Like, you know what I'm saying? And just his attention to detail and focus of whatever it was, a rep, a free throw, or getting his body right, lifting, like just seeing that, like just attention to whatever that moment was. There's so many things that makes him special, but I think the thing that people cannot lose grip of was that he never ran from the work, even being a star or whatever, a family man, which, as I got kids now, I see the challenges that could be, not just as a pro athlete, but to try to be a great. He never ran from the work. And he knew how to balance. He didn't sleep much, but he balanced everything, I thought, really well. It still breaks my heart, just talking, remembering what happened and the family and everything with him. He definitely left the world with a lot of stuff that could help us all. And, it's still, like I said, it breaks my heart, man. I can't lie to you.
What was your initial reaction hearing that Q was starting the 3-on-3 basketball league? And what has it been like working with Mr. Yay himself?
It's cool. I was watching it from afar, year one. And I was like, man, this is cool. They got all these guys together, man. I haven't seen so-and-so playing forever. You know what I mean? And that right there, I thought was just cool enough, And then getting a chance to have an interview and he's there, right? You see how serious he is, man, about this league, and that it's not a joke. It's not mixtape basketball. It's real basketball, and how much he wanted that to reflect. And so, I had my meeting with him. He let me know that, and I felt like I was a good fit. And by the end of the interview, he said, "Man, I think you got this, man." And I was really excited. And it was cool. And then working with him, I'm a guy, I like to see how people move, I'm observant on how people move. When you're at a certain stature and how you've achieved a certain level of success or whatever it may be, like how do you do your thing? Or even when you're amongst people, how do you treat people? How do you, and I love Q because he's consistent and he's a visionary and he's so professional. And those are things I wanted to instill in myself, and anything I could learn from him, I'm trying to apply for my life for the rest of my life, So he's on top of everything, man. From the games to where we playing to the jerseys to, man, the NFT stuff, just everything, man. And all while balancing everything else he's got going that we probably just don't even know about. Could be writing a movie, could be writing another album. He's touring. He could be doing an acting role, but he still never loses the attention to detail for what the Big Three needs. So, like, just one of the best, I would say, I've ever seen to juggle and balance, up close and personal,
And being an LA guy, that just must be like crazy cool for you too, to be able to like be right beside him, right?
Man, listen, dude, Cube, it's amazing, man. My first date was going to go see Friday. I remember having to take Rap and Check Yourself, How to Survive in South Central, all these different songs, man, doing talent shows with his beats in the background. It just never stops. Like, even the other day when I seen him at the draft, I said, hey, man, that documentary you did on the Lakers and Celtics was amazing, man. I never got a chance to tell you that, but it was amazing. And it's funny because I said, one detail that I thought was really dope that you did was that when you narrated LA, it sounded like LA, and not like outside LA. It sounded like South Central LA. The way he talks, you know what I'm saying? And how he was breaking down the Lakers, like, that's how we speak. And especially when we're excited. And then when they went to the Celtics, they had the Wahlberg brother.
Wahlberg.
Yeah, and he had the Baston. And you like, you gotta feel like they're in Boston, like this is how they. So I would imagine, like, he represented us well, you know what I mean? So I just had to compliment him on that, man, because he just constantly does dope stuff. And me personally, I just want to continue to do dope stuff.
That's fact. That's another great genius mind right there. You know what I'm saying? Just speaking about just those minds, like, and then just you growing up in that whole LA Inglewood type.
It doesn't seem real, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem real, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I trip out. Like, Craig, man, I don't really speak on this stuff, man. But yeah, it trips me out. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I remember last summer, my first time out to the Big Three, like, he like casually walked past me, and I'm just like, hold up. Like,
I still cute.
Yeah, Q is one of the most down to earth guys.
Yeah, he is. Like, shout out Q.
He's a real one.
Definitely.
He's a real one.
Definitely. Okay, so thoughts about the league so far, the Big 3 League, and where it's going and just how it's improving. Just me personally, just seeing it since, I've came into the league in 2019, which the best, that's the best draft class ever. Just seeing where the league has been since you've been in it and seeing the improvement and the development and, some of the things that I'm excited about is, going into this NFT space and this ownership space. Like, I'm excited about that. That's breaking and innovating new ways, and then having the aliens being headed by Bullet and the overseas presence that the league is getting as a whole. Like, those are like major improvements. So can you just like kind of like dive into those things and where you see it's going?
For sure, man. Like, first and foremost, man, like, you got to shout out the pioneers of the Big Three, man. Like your Al Harringtons, your Kenyon Martins, your Chauncey Billups, these guys are Jermaine O'Neal. Like, these guys are pioneers, man. And I don't know if they really see it because, maybe, 10 years from now, they're going to look back at the Big Three, and it all started with these guys, you know what I'm saying? And they made it work, and they opened a door for a lot of, guys like yourself and younger guys to continue playing if they still love it and want to, for whatever reasons they may be. Skill wise, I think it has went from more of a back to the basket, bruising, physical, and you guys are in the lines, but just more of a very like a stationary game. Over the past few years, it has gotten more perimeter oriented, right? And I would say your year you joined was the start of the change. With guys like yourself and Will Bynum, where a lot of people be afraid to draft the guards. They're gonna get posted up, but they got to guard you guys too. And you know what I'm saying? And if you can hold your own defensively, you have the advantage. So, I just felt like it has emerged to being more about skill rather than just brute force. And I feel like when you look at the draft this year, it's a lot of younger guys and a lot of hoopers that are hungry. And it's not, guys trying to get away for a weekend or whatever. These guys are coming for blood. And it's a platform where the world can see, So I think, getting Gilbert Arenas, starting with Gil and then Josh Smith and then Joe Johnson. And then when that started to come, the next year, Nick Young and all these things, Isaiah Austin, these dudes start coming, right? Next thing you know, like now it's like, what can we do next? And then it's international presence, Michael Beasley. We all know Mike, I'm so happy for him to be a part of our Big 3 family, man, so we can, lend our support for him in any way that he may need, but also he's a hell of a ball player. And seeing him on the court again and live in front of a crowd competing, going up maybe against Gerald Green, these guys hopping in, Glenn Rice Jr., like it's starting to get to a place where, man, like you didn't see the Big 3 last night? Oh man, you tripping. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's getting there.
To end off this podcast, as we do every episode, we got to know, what is the biggest lesson you have learned throughout your entire journey?
Man, I would say perseverance and the constant quest of, you think you know who you are, but you come to find out who you really are through adversity, and just coming up with a plan with that. I would say that's the biggest lesson, man. It's perseverance, and it's really like love and respect. You know what I'm saying? If I've been in positions, where I'm working my way up, and shows people the same respect as if somebody saw me as if I'm all the way up. And I personally don't think that I'm there, but still showing the same love and respect to everyone, regardless of, where you're at in life. And because I appreciate that, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like, perseverance in your journey, just know, you're going to get knocked down, you're going to get back up, and you have to have a plan within your journey, to persevere. And then just showing everybody love and respect as you're on your journey. And yeah, man, that's it.
Awesome. That's going to do it for episode 15 of the Underdogs Podcast. Thank you guys for listening. As always, Jordan Daly, Mike Taylor, Craig Smith, this week, Thomas Scott. See you guys next week. Peace.
Hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Appreciate you, T.